Hey everyone, how's it going? Josh here, and today we're going to break down the trailer for X-Men Dark Phoenix, or just Dark Phoenix. Doesn't really seem like they're keeping the X-Men in the name that much for marketing purposes. I don't know why, it just doesn't seem like they're using X-Men. It's just straight Dark Phoenix with a stylized X at the end there to kind of tease, I guess, it's still X-Men. But yeah, there's a lot of money shots in this trailer, a lot of really cool things in the trailer, so even if the movie doesn't turn out as great as maybe people hope, at least we got a nice trailer out of it. So the first kind of scene is Jean crying. It seems like she's in some sort of alleyway next to a dumpster. It's raining, kind of a, your traditional dreary type scene. And she's talking about how it basically alludes that she killed a friend of hers due to the Phoenix Force's powers. And one thing I find interesting is that she's either talking to the Phoenix Force within her, or she's talking to another character we're not seeing. Now, if she's talking to another character, my first choice is Jessica Chastain's character, because in a previous teaser, we did see that character also out and about talking to Jean, but in a rainy type of environment. So it makes me think that this might be just another part of that scene, or maybe a sequel scene to that initial scene with Jessica Chastain. But all things considered, that's kind of not a theme, but something they tease a few times in this trailer, is that she kills someone that is supposedly a friend to her. So definitely an interesting thing there. And getting more into that, we have a scene with a bunch of the X-Men in a much different costume than we last saw them in, and unfortunately a worse costume than we saw them in. So we got the likes of Cyclops, Storm, Mystique, Professor X, Nightcrawler, Beast, and Quicksilver, which is a very interesting lineup, seemingly at, you could presume, Jean's childhood home to confront Jean. I doubt this is going to go well, and continuing from that scene, we get more of Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique. Now, I'm not really a big fan of how her character looks in this scene. I feel like they've done something new to the makeup that just kind of looks more CG to me right now than practical effects. But besides that, I wouldn't be surprised if the character she kills off is Mystique, considering a few more hints we get in the trailer. Getting on to the next scene here, we have Jessica Chastain's character. Honestly, her character initially from reports was called a Skrull, actually, a shape-shifting alien. And it makes sense considering that the Skrulls worship the Phoenix Force. And her character seemingly calls the Phoenix Force a god, kind of teasing that worship, at least from her, and other people like her. But it's interesting to note that ever since more recent reports have come out, they've dropped the Skrulls thing, so it might just be that she's an unidentified alien, or just they might never even address it at all. Getting to this next part here, not much to talk about. Just wanted to say that I think it's really cool that X-Men are finally doing some more stuff in space, because they do it all the time in the comics. That actually transitions to the next screenshot we have here, which isn't Jean as the Phoenix yet, but seemingly I wouldn't be surprised if it's these aliens maybe doing something with the Phoenix Force, which kind of causes a catalyst setting off the events that happen the rest of the film. But it's a kind of cool scene. We also see the next kind of part where it has the X-Men in the jet. So you can see that Jean is still there wearing her X-Men gear. She has not yet become the quote-unquote Phoenix. Right after that, we see her in a similar type of object that looks like the X-Men are flying towards, with the, I guess, Jessica Chastain Skrull, maybe Skrull alien character. And this is kind of cool because they're talking to each other about, the power of being a god and stuff like that. And later on in the trailer, you also talk about people fearing what they don't understand and wanting to destroy that. So it sounds like eventually Jean's whole purpose is not necessarily to be on the offense, but maybe her character feels like she has to be on the defense, because otherwise everyone's going to try destroying her. Puts her more on a path of darkness as she loses more of herself, and maybe the Phoenix Force personality just comes out more and more and more, taking advantage of those insecurities and doubts. On this moment, which is time-stamped at about 49 seconds, we see Jean Grey getting hit with Phoenix Force energies, or at least just some sort of cosmic energies that help release the Phoenix Force even further. Don't really know too much of what's going on, just thought it was a cool scene. For 58 seconds, it looks like we have a funeral, and we can clearly see out of the three characters there, Beast and Professor X. Now, my theory is that this is going to be Mystique. I mean, it definitely would make sense for both Beast to be like he is, and also Professor X, considering Beast and Mystique had a romantic relationship. Obviously, Professor X grew up with Mystique in this timeline. And then the third one, my first guess would be Magneto would be that person. You never really know. Alright, so this next scene is one of the first of what I'd call a few money shot candidates, where we actually really get a good look at the Phoenix Force energies kind of cracking underneath Jean. which is ideally going to be a pretty cool visual like effect that they have throughout the film. And hopefully we get more cracks just to show that progression. Her eyes kind of glow as well. You can't really see it that well here, but in later scenes you can see it. But it looks like this is the first kind of real taste of the Phoenix personality, the Phoenix Force power within Jean Grey we're gonna get, and she seems to be using it against Magneto, which we can see of her crushing his helmet. Now it does look like there's a little bit of blood on the helmet actually if you look at it. So what I'm kind of thinking is maybe she launched an assault on wherever they are, whether it's the X-Mansion or somewhere else, and Magneto's kind of the final stand character against her. And he's obviously probably at this moment not trying to initially attack her as much as he's trying to talk to her, which eventually leads to them probably getting into more of an escalated confrontation. But what I find interesting here is he probably had the helmet on to combat her telepathic abilities. And he probably isn't expecting what is happening here, which I'm thinking he's resisting her by trying to repel her telekinesis with his ability to manipulate metal. So probably while she's crushing the helmet, he's using his powers to uncrush the helmet. And it's kind of a battle of, I guess, their telekinetic abilities, even though Magneto's just obviously ferrokinesis. But I think it'd be really interesting kind of this scene here to really show who's the more powerful, because otherwise you're kind of wondering, why is Magneto standing like that? Now this next scene here afterwards is definitely a money shot. We got a great look, actually this is fantastic honestly, of the Phoenix Force powers just kind of pulsating out of Jean. And she's also kind of crying, which makes me think that maybe she is aware of what's going on, but she's just lost control, so to speak. She's not in the driver's seat anymore, she's just a passenger. So maybe for Jean, she obviously doesn't like this, but the Phoenix Force obviously is doing at this point what it wants. Now the next scene also here at a minute 21 I find interesting. We get Quicksilver who's, you know, trying to presumably fight against the Phoenix Force now being awoken within Jean Grey. But what I find interesting is that it seems we have lightning here, but no storm. And it makes me think that maybe Jean, due to her arm placement as well, kind of how it looks like she's directing it, maybe she's able to call upon lightning with the Phoenix Force abilities. That would be really interesting, and it would be really cool to see her fight Storm with these type of abilities, to see maybe can Storm combat against this, can she absorb it and redirect it, or is this type of lightning different in some way? Now we next have Professor X and Beast together at a table, kind of seemingly drinking after the funeral. Now this is either after the funeral of whoever died, or this could be earlier in the film, just like it looks like it's raining outside here, just like it was raining in the beginning shot of the film, or not the film but the trailer. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is the same moment in time but just a different place with these characters instead of Jean Grey. It looks definitely like they're kind of mourning someone that was close to both of them, considering it's just both of them there. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if this is Mystique who died, considering that Professor X and Beast would definitely have this type of reaction to someone that was close to both of them in two different ways. Next we get another money shot with Jean Grey just kind of, you know, Phoenix forcing it up. And I don't really have too much to say about this scene, I just thought it looked really cool. Now at a minute 40 we have a really cool scene of Jean seemingly absorbing these cosmic energies that further release the Phoenix Force. As you can see, it looks like the energies are going into her, and as a result she's getting a fiery kind of pattern, if you will, a fiery appearance around her, along with the Phoenix Force kind of energy cracking from under her skin. So definitely I'm really excited to see this scene. This one looks kind of cool. You get a really good look at the X-Men suit as well. I still don't like it. And at a minute 46, it looks like Magneto is firing guns at someone, and the first thought is, oh, he's firing it at Jean. However, when you look at it from this angle, it looks like he's firing it instead at Jessica Chastain's character, which I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen here. Is this where they're going to formally reveal to the audience that she's an alien with certain abilities? That'd be kind of cool, but honestly I have no idea exactly how it's going to go about. Presumably she's either able to stop the bullets or they just go through her in some capacity. So definitely going to be an interesting moment here. Now we kind of talked about Storm a little bit before. This is Storm calling upon lightning and shooting it down. This all seems to be going on during the train sequence that they kind of show more of at the very end of the trailer. Now I'd be really curious to see, kind of like what I said before, Storm versus Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force, considering it kind of looks like Jean might be able to also summon the lightning in this film. Now at a minute 51, it kind of looks like Cyclops on the bottom left section of the screen, but it looks like Jean Grey really just unleashing the Phoenix Force on someone. Who she's unleashing it upon, I have no idea, but it's definitely kind of transitioning you would think to the next part of the scene, which is shown in the trailer at 1:52, which is another money shot again. Her eyes are all fiery. The cracks on her face are a lot more pronounced and a lot more scattered throughout. They also kind of go to her neck now. So definitely kind of seems like she's rather consumed with the Phoenix Force. One thing that's interesting to me at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Now, because this is when they're seemingly transporting the mutants from one location to another, including our X-Men, it looks like this is where Katie Eberhardt, Andrew Steelen, Daniel Cudmore, and Lamar Johnson will appear in their various roles, you know, that being Red Lotus, Selene, Colossus for Daniel Cudmore, who he played before. And Lamar Jackson, no one really knows what role he's playing. It's still undisclosed as of the time I'm recording this, but definitely it looks like this will be the moment we get some of those, you know, more mutants basically, which maybe they were doing to set up sequels, who knows, or spin-offs. The last kind of shot we get of the trailer is the train, and it looks like Phoenix Force Jean is out in full display here, but it looks like she's levitating the train and she'll probably just drop it off its rails and we'll get a final battle type scene there. But what I think is really interesting is that they're not zooming in on her at this moment and she's just radiating this energy. So kind of curious to see how they go about it from here, but comment below your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about the trailer? Were you excited about the trailer? Do you not care about this movie? Let us know your thoughts down below and we'll see you guys later.